We're the Dolans, inviting you to join us here on CNBC for some smart money ideas.
Whether it's stocks, bonds, taxes, or investments in general, join us with your questions and for expert advice.
That's at 6 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. right here on CNBC.
This is Weekly Business View, recapping the top business stories impacting world financial markets.
Welcome to this week's edition of Weekly Business View. I'm Sue Herrera.
And I'm Dean Shepard. This year's budget battle began in earnest this week as President Bush unveiled his long-awaited economic recovery plan and challenged lawmakers on Capitol Hill to pass his $1.5 trillion budget by March 20th. But it's not very likely the 2,000-page proposal will have a smooth ride in Congress. Brenda Butner reports.
It's the kickoff for what will likely be a big political football this season. And as the president's budget hit Congress, George Bush himself led the offense to get his plan passed by March 20th.
We appealed for that. We want to have it. I've offered to lay aside politics for a period of time.
White House economic advisors argue the president's plan can help boost the economy into recovery by putting more money in people's pocketbooks without busting the budget.
Clearly, the president has a plan, a comprehensive plan, a strong plan, a substantively responsible plan, a plan which, if enacted, will work.
As for the president's promises to keep the budget intact, Budget Director Dick Darman says the White House might be open to using the $10 billion cut in military spending this year to pay for a tax break. Despite that concession, the administration's plan helped swell this year's deficit to a record $399 billion. The president's order to reduce income tax withholding adds about $15 billion.
We have the opportunity for the economy to move forward and to improve after a sluggish early 1992.
But it's not clear the plan will do that much in the short term. The $500 tax exemption for children doesn't kick in until October, and the lower tax rates aren't really tax cuts. The administration is just making automatic what individuals can now do voluntarily, getting dollars now instead of in a tax refund later. Democrats in Congress call the plan too little, too late.
Say this budget does not provide a carefully constructive plan for immediate recovery, for long-term investment, or for future economic strength.
As the deficit and partisan fighting promise to hit new highs, it's easy to forget that the 1990 budget agreement was supposed to put a lid on the red ink and the political fighting. Brenda Butner, CNBC FNN, Washington.
Now, Thursday, Bush administration officials told congressional budget committees that a deeper military reduction would cost jobs and threaten security. But some Democrats are calling for bigger cuts, contending the money saved could be used to create jobs with other domestic spending programs.
However, the president's growth package was termed, quote, unnecessary by the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, Alan Greenspan. The nation's top central banker appointed by the president said it's more important for Congress not to bust last year's budget agreement. Donald Vandemark reports.
Alan Greenspan says President Bush's growth package isn't necessary to get the economy going.
This economy can move out of this extraordinary lethargy with monetary policy alone.
Dampening expectations of further interest rate cuts, the chairman sees, quote, a stirring in the markets, that home building is finally beginning to move, and some very subtle signs that economic erosion is beginning to stabilize.
If that process continues, then the economy will be picking up on its own independently of whatever fiscal policy moves the Congress chooses to make.
The chairman's major concern is that lawmakers will overdo it, boost the deficit, and raise inflation fears. Investors would then demand higher interest rates, and that could choke off the recovery.
I'm not yet ready to argue in favor of a significant fiscal package.
No one knows what Congress in the end will produce. One concern is that business people won't act until the package is law. As far as the president's plan goes, few executives seem thrilled.
They're interested. In some cases, they're actually excited, but no one is jumping for joy that this is the solution that they've all been waiting for and the answer to their problems.
As for general monetary policy, Fed officials remain worried about the slow growth of money and its impact on the economy. So are lawmakers, who must confirm the chairman to a second four-year term.
I think a great deal of the pain that we have endured could have been minimized
Greenspan says the Fed could not have moved earlier, that long-term interest rates would not have followed short-term rates down. Though now he says they might. Donald Vandermark, CNBC FNN, Washington.
Continued losses this week in the bond market as traders anticipated the president's State of the Union address and Congress's response to it. The market is convinced the Bush administration and perhaps the Fed itself see the economy recovering, and that drove prices down all week. Even mildly bullish economic statistics could not pull the market higher. The long bond closed up 9/32 to yield 7 3/4%. Fed funds finished at 4.5%.
It was a zigzag week for the Dow Jones Industrials. The blue chips gained 31.5 points to hit a new closing high of 3272.14. But for the week, the blue chips shed 9 1/3 points, ending at 3223.39.
Coming up next on Weekly Business View, a White House proposal draws outrage from the insurance industry.
And two historic companies say they will emerge from their Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings made this week. We'll be right back.
People, we've spent millions giving everyone a computer, and productivity keeps dropping. Where's the productivity? I'm hungry for an answer.
Hungry? Here's mainframe power that fits in a pizza box. Data General's Avion system is the first server with software to make your computers work as a team and save you millions.
Jenkins, I'm famished. Order us an Avion.
To finally profit from your computers, call 1-800-DATA-GEN.
You can't change the world, but you can change the way you live, like serving more Dannon yogurt to you and your family. You see, where the world is filled with stress, Dannon is filled with calcium, potassium, and real yogurt cultures. Where the world is relentless, Dannon is relaxing, rejuvenating. So while you can't change the world, your life is in your hands. Make Dannon yogurt a very healthy habit for life.
For years, Pledge has kept our furniture beautiful. Well, now New Pledge does even more with a special dust-resistant formula called Dust Block. Now Pledge actually repels dust. 2 weeks ago, I polished the word Pledge into this table. Watch. New Pledge repels over half the dust I'd get just dry dusting. Pledge with Dust Block, it actually repels dust.
Also try New Pledge Household Cleaner. Not a polish, but a liquid cleaner to deep clean all your wood surfaces. From SC Johnson Wax.
I have this dream. I ride 190 horses at once.
Why take another cold and flu season lying down? At the first sign of a cold or flu, take Coricidin. It relieves your runny nose, congestion, and fever fast, and even helps stop them from getting worse. Coricidin D. The sooner, the better.
More reliable than most, this umbrella. For it comes from our agents and 35,000 employees dedicated to customer service. Open in case you want insurance and investment expertise the traveler's way. You're better off under the umbrella.
Tonight on Talk Live, host Dave Sims explores the insanity plea. Is it an easy way out for criminals? And Into the Sun star Anthony Michael Hall. Then later, host Dan Brenner welcomes Arista Records president Clive Davis and sexy siren Rhonda Schoen. Tonight on Talk Live.
The insurance industry is up in arms over President Bush's plan to eliminate most tax breaks on new annuities. John Teal reports.
Americans poured more than $50 billion into annuities in 1990. The policies are a way to save for retirement. They allow investors to earn interest tax-free, much like IRAs, until the money is withdrawn after age 59 and a half. But the Bush administration is asking Congress to eliminate those tax breaks. The insurance industry is up in arms, saying it would be devastating for ordinary people.
What you're doing is that you are depriving the average middle-class American who participates in these annuities of one of the chief tax benefits to encourage the savings and planning for the future, which is so vital for our economy.
This isn't the first time the Treasury Department has tried to eliminate tax breaks on annuities. Critics of the breaks have generally argued a lot of investors are simply trying to avoid paying taxes rather than prepare for retirement.
The administration wants to eliminate tax breaks for most new policies sold to individuals starting February 1st. The administration also wants to get rid of certain tax benefits on policies bought by corporations. Altogether, insurance people estimate it would cost the industry more than $4 billion over 5 years, and it couldn't come at a worse time.
We are a conservative industry in the way we manage our portfolio, but if our pockets keep being picked, it makes the task of keeping ourselves in good financial shape obviously more and more difficult.
Insurance professor Erwin Vanderhoof thinks eliminating the tax breaks would be a bad idea, but he doesn't think it would hurt the industry that much.
I don't think it's terribly damaging, really. It's a part of the industry. For some companies, it can be terribly damaging because there are companies that are specialized in this kind of business. I don't think the very large companies are going to be terribly impaired by it.
The insurance industry promises an all-out fight in Congress. One observer points out the industry has beaten similar proposals in the past and gives Bush no better than a 50-50 chance of winning now. John Teal, CNBC FNN, New York.
Consumers continue to be pessimistic about their financial security. The Conference Board said its Consumer Confidence Index sank sharply in January. The survey also showed that we as a nation are less inclined to make any major purchases. Kevin McCullough reports.
To the new 1993 Pro GT.
These car dealers are getting a look at a new model that'll reach their showrooms this summer. They can only hope better consumer confidence comes with it.
Consumer confidence is still kind of low, and I think a lot of customers are just looking forward to some sort of stimulus to just relieve some of the economic pressures they've had in the past.
Ford Vice President Ross Roberts, here to give the dealers the company's forecast, says car buyers need just what the Conference Board survey says they don't have.
Confidence. I think they've got to feel good about their future. I think they've got to know that they've got a job. And I think as far as we're concerned, we've got to do a better job of convincing them that our products are the right products for them.
The Consumer Confidence Index for January was 50.4 on a 1985 base of 100 points. That was down from both December and November and off almost 30 points from the 1991 high in April. As for buying plans, the survey shows those intending to buy a new car in the next 6 months were down to below 2.5%. Planned purchases of new homes were unchanged, major appliances down, but in a sign of the times, plans for buying used cars were up slightly. Economist DeLaw Smith says the Consumer Confidence Index shows the Federal Reserve's interest rate cut hasn't affected the public's confidence level.
Looking at it, that the discount rate is something that the financial markets know about. Main Street just yawned.
This being an election year, I think a lot of good things are going to start to develop. And that's what we're looking forward to seeing.
As the car dealers know, shiny new models alone aren't enough. Kevin McCullough, CNBC FNN, Teaneck, New Jersey.
And more evidence came in this week that consumers are indeed holding their wallets tightly. Personal incomes jumped 1% in December, the biggest increase in 3 years. But for all of 1991, incomes were up 3.3%. That's just barely ahead of inflation. But on the flip side, spending slowed, inching up just 0.3% in December. However, the housing market may be coming back to life. Sales of previously owned homes climbed 0.9% in December, the third straight monthly gain, even though annual existing home sales for last year were the weakest in 6 years. And sales of new homes resumed their slide in December after 2 months of advances. New home sales dropped 6.6% in December, recording the steepest fall since January of 1981.
Virtually all of the 380,000 customers of one of the nation's largest mortgage lenders, GMAC Mortgage, will soon be receiving refunds averaging $275 each. 12 states sued GMAC Mortgage back in December, citing the company with violating a federal formula used to determine the maximum a lender can force a customer to pay into mortgage escrow accounts to cover such things as taxes and insurance. GMAC, a unit of General Motors, denied any wrongdoing but did agree to change its escrow policy in addition to making those refunds.
For years, American Express has carefully cultivated images of privilege and wealth and charged pretty stiff fees for membership in its exclusive club. But in the value-conscious 90s, many customers are looking at the competition offering lower fees, if any at all. Susan Lisovich reports.
At the John Marco Venturi boutique on New York's Upper East Side, high fashion comes at a high price. Jackets range from $700 to $1,800. Suits go up to $3,000. More than half of the clothes purchased there are bought on American Express, but the store prefers to use other cards.
Certainly, with sales volumes the way they are now, we try to look at all of our variables that we can control. So we do request other cards, but it would never be declined.
That's not the case with Laura Ashley. The upscale chain was dropped by American Express last month after it was encouraging customers to use cards that charge retailers lower processing fees. The higher fees charged by American Express are nothing new. It wasn't a problem during the buying binge of the 80s, but a prolonged downturn in the economy is forcing retailers to cut costs wherever they can. Restaurateurs led the fight against higher fees when a number of establishments threatened to stop using the card last year. American Express then agreed to lower its rates for restaurants that use computers and telephone lines to communicate directly with the company. American Express says it has no new special deals in the works.
We are a premium price product. We recognize that. We cost more to the retailer than the bank cards do. But at the same time, we do deliver a more recession-proof customer. And that you can see in the spending trends.
But analysts say American Express can't afford to alienate too many customers.
It may end up backfiring on them, and more retailers may just say, I'm not going to pay the discount rate, and I'm not going to stand for these kind of heavy-handed tactics.
American Express likes to say that membership has its privileges. These days, many clients seem most concerned with value. Susan Lisovich, CNBC FNN, New York.
Thursday, American Express lost the card business of another retailer, Hartmarx Corporation, and 2/3 of its 355 stores. Shares of the company fell 1 5/8 on the week to 20 5/8.
We drove an engine 200,000 grueling miles using new Mobil 1. Then we ripped it apart. What did we find? Nothing. Nothing. Virtually no engine wear. What kept these vital engine parts like new? This part. New advanced formula Mobil 1. It keeps your engine running like new.
If you're tired of hunting for your vacuum cleaner's attachments, get the new Dirt Devil Upright. It's lightweight, easy to use, and all the attachments are built right into the vacuum. So you can clean everything from floor to ceiling and edge to edge without stopping to find a thing. And because it's a Dirt Devil, it's packed with plenty of cleaning power. So stop hunting for your attachments. Get the new Dirt Devil Upright, the all-in-one cleaner that cleans it all.
So you get to go to Asia on business for 2 weeks.
I'll try to call you every day.
Try?
It's not always easy overseas.
Well, I'm going to make it easy for you.
USA Direct.
AT&T USA Direct service, another way AT&T can help you from practically anywhere.
Every country you're going to has a special number. You just dial it and get right back here to an AT&T operator.
And more importantly,
me.
For a free USA Direct information card, call 1-800-874-4000.
Okay, Ted, here's your orange juice. You wait here, and I'll go get your breakfast.
There's nothing like 100% pure Florida quality orange juice with the vitamins, minerals, and taste that make you feel so good.
How'd you do that?
100% pure Florida quality orange juice. It makes you feel so good.
What's the worst part of treating your worst colds?
A cold medicine that leaves me spacey.
Well, it's the cold medicine that can zonk me out. I hate that.
It's like I'm off in the ozone somewhere. Groggy, spacey.
Introducing Sudafed Severe Cold Formula.
If it could help stop the cough and the fever, but not stop me from getting to work, that'd be great.
The first Sudafed cough, cold, and flu tablet, and it has nothing but maximum strength ingredients. All that and it won't knock me out? Perfect.
New Sudafed Severe Cold Formula. Maximum strength without drowsiness.
something's waiting inside the powerful 486 SX computer. A technology that will make it even more powerful. We call it Room for the Future. Introducing built-in upgradability. Check into it. From Intel, the computer inside.
Troubled retailing giant R.H. Macy & Company started this week by filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Alan Chernoff reports.
After battling a financial crunch for 2 years, R.H. Macy finally succumbed to the mountain of debt its executives had piled on. A disappointing Christmas left the retailer without cash to pay suppliers. Macy couldn't get more bank credit and thus had no choice but to file for bankruptcy protection.
Its credibility has come to an end with its suppliers, and you can't, in retailing, do business from an empty wagon.
It'll be business as usual at the 250 Macy-owned stores across the country under terms of the bankruptcy filing. Chemical Bank and Bankers Trust will provide between $500 and $600 million for day-to-day operations. That will let Macy pay off suppliers and guarantee future shipments from manufacturers.
By me having merchandise at Macy's, I am saying to the Nicole Miller customers that come to Macy's, continue to come to Macy's and continue to buy our stuff.
Chetta B, a women's apparel maker, had been withholding shipments, but now it'll do business with Macy again.
The perception of the Chapter 11 is going to be very bad, and consumer confidence is going to erode even more than it is now. But it probably will be better for Macy's in the long run.
The trouble at Macy's began in 1986 when Chairman Edward Finkelstein led a leveraged buyout of the company for more than $3.5 billion. Then 2 years later, Finkelstein piled on even more debt, $1.1 billion to buy I. Magnin and Bullocks in California. Finkelstein continuously made optimistic forecasts that would have allowed Macy to pay off its debt, but he kept missing his numbers.
Macy's managers are probably the most experienced merchandise pickers in the retail industry. They unfortunately are lousy numbers crunchers.
Macy creditors are likely to gain control of the company, and bondholders who have seen the value of their holdings plunge will have to wait patiently to get whatever payment they may eventually receive. The retailer will probably have to sell off some stores to pay debt, but perhaps as early as this fall, Macy could emerge from Chapter 11 as a leaner, humbler retailer. Alan Chernoff, CNBC FNN, New York.
On Wednesday, a bankruptcy court in New York approved $60 million in emergency interim financing for the retailer. Macy's will be back in court February 13th to request approval for the remaining of its financing package, which may total as much as $600 million.
Bankruptcy court was a busy place this week. Friday, Trans World Airlines became the 6th U.S. airline to file for Chapter 11 protection from its creditors. The widely anticipated move comes after the debt-burdened carrier said last year it was talking with its creditors about a prepackaged reorganization plan. That is one in which the company works out the terms of the bankruptcy with its creditors before actually making the bankruptcy filing. TWA's chairman Carl Icahn says the airline is still looking for a merger partner, but that the move will make the airline stronger and more competitive.
Also from the airline sector this week, Pan Am announced it's suing Delta Airlines for more than $2.5 billion in damages. Pan Am charges that Delta pulled out of a financing package to keep Pan Am alive, and that Delta's last-minute refusal on its funding promise left Pan Am with no alternative but to stop operating. Delta, which faces an earlier suit filed by Pan Am creditors, says the suit has no merit. For the week, Delta lost 4 3/8, closing at 67 1/8.
Don't expect to see profits from Detroit anytime soon. Analysts say GM, Ford, and Chrysler will post an estimated $6.8 billion loss in 1991. That would be the most red ink from the Big Three in history. They report their results next month. But the analysts do offer some hope, saying if the economy begins its expected recovery, Detroit should start to make money after June. On the week, General Motors lost 3/8, Ford fell 1 3/4, Chrysler gained 7/8.
Recapping Friday's closing market action for you, the Dow Industrials dropped 21.47 to 3223.39. The transports fell 14, the utilities fell 3/4. Turning to the secondary markets, on the American Stock Exchange, the Amex index rose 0.45, the Nasdaq Composite fell a point.
And looking at some of the stocks in the news this week, Storage Technology soared 15 1/4 on the week. The stock jumped 9 points alone on Tuesday on news that sales of its new data storage device are booming. Dow component Disney also picked up 9 points on Tuesday, which helped boost its shares 3 3/8 points on the week. Walt Disney reported an unexpected 22% increase in its fiscal first quarter earnings as success in its movie operation offset weak theme park attendance. It also boosted its dividend by 20%. Westinghouse added a quarter on the week for the first time in at least 50 years. The cash-starved company cut its quarterly dividend, nearly in half, in fact, to 18 cents a share, and announced plans to sell $500 million of new preferred stock. Boeing shed 1.5 points, although it reported a 27% rise in its fourth quarter earnings. Boeing says proposed defense spending cuts could add up to the loss of some 2,000 jobs. And Bethlehem Steel also fell 1.5 points this week. It is slashing its workforce by 6,500 and reported its losses widened in the fourth quarter to $8.47 a share.
President Bush's decision to halt production on the Seawolf submarine after the first is made comes as a major economic blow to the people of Groton, Connecticut, where the Seawolf is built. Dave Monsies reports.
Groton is a town overshadowed by General Dynamics' Mammoth Electric Boat Company. It's a one-industry town, and 21,000 workers here know that the one Seawolf under construction here may well be the last.
We're doomed!
There is work here for now, but the defense slashes called for by President Bush this week seem to those here directly at odds with earlier White House promises.
My highest priority is jobs.
But campaign promises and the reality of a less and less hostile world have reduced the need for a Cold War-sized military. Harry Smith and Mike Fitz are just two of the 21,000 at Electric Boat, one a painter, the other a boilermaker, and both angry.
My personal opinion is I think it's going to devastate New England, the amount of jobs that are going to be lost.
You angry? Yeah, I'm not happy about it. I don't think he's doing a good job. He's not looking at the whole picture.
Layoffs had been planned here, but no one expected the possible elimination of the entire plant. There are enough other projects to keep the shipyard going through the middle of the decade, but after that, Groton, like Electric Boat, may dry up.
The facilities of Electric Boat are rather unevenly divided along the border of Connecticut and Rhode Island. And as one Rhode Island Democratic congressman said of President Bush's State of the Union address, it seemed to be like an aberration of the peace dividend.
What we're seeing, the first dividend check cashed on the peace dividend is no work for Electric Boat in Rhode Island and in southeastern Connecticut.
Groton has its back to the wall like much of Connecticut, the state that gets more defense dollars per capita than any other. And as the threat of war dwindles to almost nothing, so do the futures of all the people at Electric Boat. Dave Monsies, CNBC FNN, Groton, Connecticut.
And that wraps up this week's edition of Weekly Business View. Please join us Monday through Friday for Business View at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and again next weekend to recap the week's news. I'm Dean Shepard.
And I'm Sue Herrera. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.